Everyone, welcome to the Carmel Clay Board of Parks and Recreation meeting for February 13th, 2024. First, we'll have the roll call. Secretary Linus.
Yep, be more than happy to. Jonathan? Here. Katie?
Here.
James? Here. Judy?
Here.
Joshua?
Present.
Jen? Absent. Mark?
Present.
Lynn?
Here.
Linus? Present. Madam President, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Linus. Now we'll stand for the pledge. No public comments tonight. I don't see any public here. We'll move right on to staff reports then. Curtis?
Thank you, Judy. Staff reports are included in your park board packet. Point out that also included in staff reports is the strategic implementation status report. If you're not familiar with the report, it's basically a synopsis of our department's accomplishments over the last year and how they impact the current comprehensive Parks and Recreation master plan. So if you've had a chance to review it, our staff was extremely busy this last year, and we're really proud of everything that they've accomplished, and they really worked their tails off to make Carmel one of the best places to live, work, and play in the entire country. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
Are there any questions for Curtis? Thank you.
Thank you.
Finance Committee. Lynn?
Finance Committee didn't meet last month.
We'll move on to minutes. Mr. Secretary?
Yes. I move to approve the minutes of the Park Board Executive Session dated January 23, 2024.
Second.
Okay, Linus and Joshua. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved for January 23rd executive session. Minutes for the regular meeting, the 23rd.
Yes. I move to approve the minutes of the annual and regular Park Board meeting dated January 23rd, 2024.
Is there a second? Joshua? Oh, Jonathan? Okay. Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the annual and regular minutes? Would everyone signify approval by aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, financial reports, Treasurer.
I move to acknowledge receipt of the consolidated financial report for December 2023 and I move to acknowledge receipt of P&L statements for January 2024.
Second.
Okay, moved by Lynn, second by Joshua. Are there any questions or discussions about the financial reports and statement?
I just wanted to point out that if you had a chance to look at the 2023 consolidated financial report through December, all three of our funds had banner years. So I think it's the first time the 108 and 109 funds have finished with net income exceeding $1 million. Just again, hats off to our division directors and their team for the way that they've managed their budget, and they've just done a phenomenal job. We're really proud of them.
And the funds reflect that very strongly.
Yeah, at this same point, 4 years ago, right before the pandemic, we had about $7 million in cash reserves between 108 and 109 fund. Today, that total is over $8.2 million. So we've rebounded from that perspective, no doubt about it.
Excellent. And with good stewardship as well. All those in favor of the reports as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Treasurer claim sheet.
I move to approve the claim sheet dated February 13th, 2024, and to approve the Clay Township claim sheet dated February 13th, 2024, and to approve payroll wages and liabilities for payroll dates January 12th and January 26th, 2024.
Second.
Lynn and Joshua seconded. Any questions on the financial reports? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimously carried. Okay, monetary gifts.
Thank you.
Eric, do you want to say? Yeah.
In January, we received 3 contributions totaling $850. One donation from Enterprise Fleet Management for our Lunch and Learn program that we run through Rec and Facilities. One donation from Scent Hound, Indiana for $500 to sponsor the Monon Greenway dog pot stations. And then one from our anonymous donor for staff appreciation.
Madam President,
Yes, Josh.
I suggest that we take these very generous donations to the bank just as quick as we can accept them.
Is that a motion, Joshua?
It is.
And is there a second?
Second.
Linus? Any further discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, old business. Director Quitzy.
So the first item for the Park Board's consideration tonight are the award of a contract for the bids we received for the White River Greenway North Extension. This is an exciting project for us because this is one of the older goals of the park system dating back to the Five Fingers Master Plan where we're embracing the White River. For this, we received 3 bids on January 23rd for extending the White River Greenway north from across from Tall Timber Trail all the way north to 146th Street, partially on a easement that we are purchasing from Connor Prairie at a discounted price. We received 3 bids. Low bid was $4,960,000. High bid was just under $5.7 million, all from reputable contractors. SJCA, our architect, as well as CTI, our construction manager, reviewed the low bid and did determine that Morphe Construction at $4,960,000 was the most responsive and responsible bidder. The majority of this project, the $4 million of it, will be funded through the READY grant we received from the Central Indiana Regional Development Authority, the READY grant we received. The balance of it, $1,160,000, will come from the Park Impact Fee Fund 106, which is an eligible expense under that fund. Additionally, incorporated into our proposed approval of this is that we will include a $200,000 allowance to be incorporated into the final agreement in consultation with legal counsel to cover anticipated change orders, which every project of this scope is going to have some. We have been traditionally including an allowance like that, and council validated that we could do so in this particular project too. Of course, the provisions for approval of those allowances would follow traditional change order things. Anything that are up to my authority or Curtis's authority could be approved, but everything would be ratified by the Park Board. If it's over our authority limits, it would of course come to the Park Board for prior approval before proceeding. With that, it is my recommendation to award the contract to Morphe Construction as recommended in the 2 proposed recommended motions. Happy to address any questions.
Okay, let's have a motion then to
Madam
first.
President?
Okay, Joshua.
I move to authorize the bid from and award a contract to Morphe Construction, the amount of $5,160,000 for the White River Greenway North Extension Project, and authorize the director, the assistant director, and the Park Board legal counsel to take all actions necessary to complete the contracting process. Furthermore, I also move that the Park Board delegate to the director and the assistant director the authority to determine whether it is in the best interest of the board and the department to add or change an item or items in the contract with Morphe Construction, and to approve each change order in the amount not to exceed his purchasing authority, and in accordance with applicable Indiana law regarding change orders, with a report to the with a report to and ratification by the Park Board at a subsequent meeting.
Second.
Linus, second. Any other discussion or questions? I just want to comment, yes, this is so exciting to actually be alive to see this one done. So that was, it's been a long time coming, and it is going to be spectacular. So thank you for all the good work. Yeah, it's
Thank
going to
you.
be awesome.
You don't get to get a second trail named after you, though.
No, no. No. It's the White River. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Oh, Michael, we don't have a picture of this up anywhere, do we, though?
No,
Okay.
we don't. I'm sorry. There is on our website for the public, if they go to carmelclayparks.com, underneath the Reimagining Parks section of the website, there are illustrations of the
Okay.
project.
So the public could see the whole plan.
Exactly.
That's exciting. Okay. Then moving on to the Clay Township White River pedestrian bridge.
So this is also a continuation of past discussions and numerous efforts to construct a pedestrian bridge that connects Carmel to Fishers. This particular one is a project that is being initiated and led by Clay Township. And what we are recommending for the Park Board's consideration and hopeful approval tonight is Resolution B 2024-001, which is a donation agreement to Clay Township for the White River 106th Street pedestrian bridge in amount of $3 million. That $3 million coming from two funding sources, $1.5 million coming from the Park Impact Fee Fund, again, an authorized use under the current zone improvement plan, as well as $1.5 million coming from the non-reverting Park Capital Fund 103, which is maintained by the city, but from the proceeds that are directly attributable to the Central Park LIT, local income tax dollars that are due to the Central Park bond. The Park Board may recall that in the past, the LIT from the township was always maintained by the Clay Township trustee, but due to changes in interpretation by State Board of Accounts, those funds can no longer be distributed from the township's non-reverting park fund. So the agreed upon methods are for those dollars to go to the 103 fund that's maintained by the city's finance department, and but are all the lit that's attributable to the Central Park bond. So we're using those proceeds for this particular project. If you look at the dollar amounts while it's all one project as far as the bidding is concerned, as far as the donation agreement is concerned, from our standpoint, in practicality, it's two projects. One is the bridge itself, which has a variety of partners, Clay Township being the largest contributor at just under $5.1 million, Hamilton County contributing $1.6 million, Delaware Township a little over $1.3 million, and the city of Fishers anticipated at $400,000, and of course ours being the second largest contribution at $3 million. But 1.5 of ours, the amount that is effectively in our minds coming from the non-reverting park capital fund, is going towards construction of the bridge, our share towards the bridge. And then the other $1.5 million is constructing the trail that goes from the bridge to Hazeldale Parkway, because that's solely on park property that's managed by the parks owned by the city. Obviously a project that Fishers or Delaware Township would have no interest in. So we're effectively fully funding the trail and then contributing towards the construction expenses of the bridge. Yeah, trail and parking lot, thank you. It is our recommendation that the Park Board approve this donation agreement, which is the way it needs to be structured legally, so to ensure compliance with how the bond was issued by the township and ensure no variances with state statute as it pertains to that issuance. This project will be managed by Clay Township through their owner's rep, which will be CTI, so involved on all the Clay Township Impact Program projects, so and worked very closely in coordination with us throughout the process. With that, happy to address any questions the park board may have.
This is another project that has been a long time coming. Tromped all
Yes.
over that ground a lot. I think Bosman, Mr. Bosman, you've been down there too.
Oh, you bet.
Okay, so, any questions? Mark?
Michael, I have probably a simple question by looking at these diagrams, but is there a way to get from where the parking is for Hazel Landing Park, a pathway to get to the new pathway?
There is. This illustration doesn't show it very easily, but there is a connecting path between the existing parking lot closer to the river and to this trail network, new trail network that's going in. So absolutely.
And is the pathway from Hazel Landing a asphalt trail?
The pathway from Hazel Landing to the bridge will be an asphalt trail. So
Okay.
it'll be a 12-foot, just similar to the White
Similar
River
trail,
Greenway.
just normal trail?
Yep.
But the pathway coming from the existing Hazel Landing, I probably assume
It's gonna-
it's an aggregate trail,
No, it'll actually be a concrete trail.
concrete?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be more of a sidewalk, but fully ADA compliant.
And is that going to that'll cross the pipeline then?
It'll cross the pipeline, yes.
Do you know about where it'll cross the pipeline? I'm just curious.
I don't know specifically, but yes, it does cross, and we had close coordination with Marathon as far as to the requirements for that. So that I know. Actually, as part of this project, we were originally looking at paving the entire road as well to the parking lot that's next to the river, but because of the pipeway, there wasn't enough depth. The pipeline isn't buried deep enough for us to be able to put an asphalt road in, especially considering there are especially the bridge used the last remaining credits for backwater along the White River, so we couldn't raise the road, which is what would have had to required for us to pave it or relocate the road, which wasn't really practical. So
Yes, I know, that's why I was asking, because the pipeline in one place was less than an inch under the surface, and that was a
Yeah.
pretty big problem. So. Okay, thank you very much.
absolutely.
Usually those can be seen from, I can't quite tell, but usually you can pick out where a pipeline is.
Yeah, I know.
on a aerial.
It really follows that road.
The new one?
The
Oh, the old road.
The old road.
Existing road.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why it's not showing
Yeah.
up so
Yeah, it's
easily.
like,
Okay.
in some places, Judy, it's actually encroaching right
the
up
road?
to the edge within an inch
Oh,
of the road.
Gosh, I guess I did not remember that. Okay.
Yeah, that's why you don't see the clearing, is because the clearing is within the is cleared for the road. So
Okay. So the road stays gravel then?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, what about the potholes?
We do on at least an annual basis, sometimes twice a year, do regrade it. So we will continue to do that practice. So.
Okay.
We discussed looking at a new roadway entry into it, but then we were going to take out even more of the trees, which would have required additional mitigation. And we ultimately decided that while it's not our preferred, it is part of the river experience. So it gives it a more rustic feel, if you will. The contractor for this project, I forgot to mention, is Beatty Construction. That's already been reviewed and vetted by the township and CTI, their owner's rep. So I believe the township is already
They're under contract.
under contract with that. I will also note that the park is already closed, not for our project, but for utilities doing upgrades to the lift station that is along that roadway to the park. So the park is already closed for those purposes. Hamilton County Golf Union has been notified. They're still trying to use it, but the tees for the disc golf course will soon be removed if they haven't already been, just to discourage the public from interacting on an active construction site that won't be safe for the public to use. I am also pleased that we've worked very closely with the city forester. There is a champion oak tree that is in close proximity to the road and close to this bridge we will take all efforts to ensure that that tree is not damaged or impacted by this project. So if you look on a satellite, you can actually pick it out. It's that big. And when you go out onto the site and you're looking, I mean, it'll become even more prominent and easier to see with this development. But we are taking major efforts to preserve
Can you
that
show
tree.
us where it is?
It
Roughly
is.
speaking?
Okay, on this one, maybe it's not as,
Oh.
actually, so if you look, they kind of have an outline of it. Just sort of at the 11 o'clock, if you look at the switchback for the bridge, which is the brown that goes across, you kind of see a bigger sort of loopy outline of a tree.
Yeah.
That one's the champion oak.
Oh,
No, that's what the
Yeah.
forester calls it, so.
yeah.
Stature, not
I
its
think it's right here.
genus.
Yeah, no,
It's,
not, it, yeah.
champion. Oh, never heard of it.
Well, he said right by the brown.
Congrats.
Oh, 11. Oh.
Yeah, it's in between, it's almost touching the road.
Oh, it's almost touching.
Yeah,
It's between the two.
Oh, yeah, you can, sort of goes over the road a little bit?
Yeah.
too? Yeah, oh, that's going to be a challenge, okay.
yeah,
And then it'll get labeled, right?
yeah, of
With its
course.
award? Okay.
Yes.
No, that's a big deal. Every year you can recommend, if there's something in your community. Oh, very cool. And also, if you're a birder, there are a lot of bluebirds out in this park. So don't go now, but there are a lot of bluebirds. And the eagle shows up periodically too, because I'm in a walking group that, goes out there, and a bunch of them are big birders. They know where stuff is, so. Okay, any other, Mark?
Has anyone from the department been in contact with the Mountain Bike Association?
We've been in discussions with the Mountain Bike Association. They no longer maintain any of the trails here, but they are interested in creating more mountain bike experiences. So we've had discussions with them, but we've also been forthright about our funding challenges, as well as not having all the property for this park yet, where we would envision potentially being able to facilitate more mountain bike experiences. So we're continued dialogue.
Excellent.
Madam
Okay.
President,
Yes.
I move to approve Resolution B-2024-001.
Okay, a motion and a second. So do we have to read this, or do we have to take a motion to not read it, or what's the?
So based on past conversations, a while ago, we used to do a waiving of the reading, but legal counsel has advised us that that wasn't a step we needed to do, that we could just do a motion to approve the resolution. So we've simplified things.
Okay. Although I think the first, or the second paragraph is of particular interest. I just, the funding source, I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record for the Clay Township.
Sure.
Bonds.
And if you want, I can read that particular paragraph just for the record.
Would you read that one just for the
Absolutely.
public that might be listening?
So the second whereas statement in Resolution B 2024-001 is being considered is whereas on November 19th, 2020, Clay Township of Hamilton County, Indiana, the township issued its general obligation bonds, Series 2020B, in the principal amount of $4,305,000 and an issue price of $5,293,867.95 for the purpose of designing and constructing a pedestrian bridge spanning the White River in Hamilton County and the improvement and expansion of trails connected thereto and related structures and amenities as further described in Exhibit A attached here to the project.
Thank you. Any further discussion about the resolution?
Yes. I have one additional question. Michael, refresh my memory. I know we asked this question once before, or somebody did. What's the expected lead time from start to finish on the bridge aspect?
So
I just can't pull that out of my gray matter.
we had a recent kickoff meeting with Beatty on that. Yeah, we were anticipating final completion in August of 2025, so I would say by the end of 2025.
Yeah, oh, yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
If we had good experience of every project coming on exactly on time when it relates especially to conditions that have a river, I would be more confident to say definitely August 2025, but seeing they're saying August 2025, I'm going to say probably by the end of 2025.
And I would get that in regards to working with a river.
Yeah.
And we don't build bridges across river very often, so it is a new kind of breaking new ground for us in that respect.
Right.
Yeah.
And just about every utility in the county crosses there. That's why
There-
there's never
there's-
been a road.
We've got Duke,
So-
we've got the pipeline. Yeah, it's
We could have some things show up that are totally unexpected. Although, are we ready to vote then? All those in favor of Resolution 2024-001, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Brian, attorney's report.
Sure,
Anything?
good evening. Good to be with you all. Just to give you some updates on a couple of items. So the Albany Village donation that we've been talking about for the last year is anticipated to close tomorrow. It could be Thursday or Friday, but it's hopefully going to be this week. We worked this past month on Westmeyer Commons Playground documents, both design and construction. Got several easements and encroachments with Duke that we're working with your staff on to resolve. A couple of insurance defended lawsuits, which there have been no significant developments on. Working on a master management agreement with your staff to put into place for the various projects that and properties that you manage for the city of Carmel. And with the anticipation that we can have one, or the hope that we can have one agreement, which I'll get to you this week, Michael, I've actually got a draft completed, that we can put in place and just add properties to, rather than having to have a new management agreement every time something like this comes up. We are in, hopefully, the final throes of completing the easement for the trail with Connor Prairie. It's in their hands now. And continue to work on long-term financing solutions with your park director and staff. And praying for a miracle on that one someplace, but we've got some options. We'll give you one other update. Doug Kowalski, who has been with our firm for 3.5 years now, has accepted a new position back with the state of Indiana, from whence he came. This time with the Port Authority, so you'll have to put up with me and not Doug for a while. But we have a job search going on right now, and have some great candidates possibly. And one of their jobs will be to work with your team and me to provide for your legal needs. So happy to answer any questions about anything.
Any questions for Brian? Okay, thank you. Moving on to director's report.
Thank you. In front of you, sort of piggybacking off of what Brian said in his report, I've been working very closely with Brian and his team on exploring funding options for our long-term capital funding. Obviously, one of the most critical issues that we as a park system working with the city of Carmel and Clay Township need to address, as the local income tax dollars we're receiving from Clay Township attributable to the Central Park Fund are in their waning years, as well as build out with the community growing, impacting impact fees, and just needing to find replacements for those. So attached for you is what I'm referring to as a working draft, but has been very well vetted with Brian and his team, is a summary of options that we have reviewed and considered. We've tried to identify, give you a general description, who's sort of the lead funding source from our fiscal bodies, limitations or impacts, and any actions that may be required, just to kind of give it a snapshot. Is it all-encompassing of every single step, but it gives you a very quick glimpse of it. I will say that the items at the end of it are on the list more so because they have been discussed, not because that they are truly viable. For example, there was a recommendation by former Mayor Brainerd that we consider having a referendum for bonds that would support parks. There is no enabling legislation that would allow us to do that. It would require special legislation to be able to have that. And our read of the legislature is that's probably just not very realistic. But we did want to put it because it was something that I agree with former Mayor Brainerd that if we went to referendum, we probably would be able to get it. We just don't have the legal authority to do so. So it's on the list for that purpose. A couple other ones are sort of in that same vein that special legislation would be required. But I did want to at least demonstrate that we have looked at a lot of different options. I won't go over every single one of them. That might be a great topic for us for a future board retreat, but I did want to give you that so that you had it at your fingertips. As this is updated, we'll keep you posted. Happy to address any questions that you have either now or in the future regarding that. Also closely related, I have with my team a meeting with Reedy Financial Group tomorrow, just to learn a little bit more about them. One of the things that we are exploring is bringing on a financial consultant that works directly with the department and effectively the park board to further vet out funding options. Maybe, for example, there's the opportunity for special taxing district bonds or lease rental bonds that could be done by the township or the city. We are going to look at a little bit more, potentially look at a little bit more thoroughly what the dollar ramifications could be, how much money could be generated, and work towards an actual proposal of not only these are the options that should be considered, but here is potential financial revenues that can be generated through that process. So no commitments. It's simply a get to know that particular group a little bit better. It's one that we've received favorable recommendations from. They don't have any current business with either the city and township, so that was one of the things that I thought was important. So that way, we didn't. Neither of our fiscal bodies would think we're using someone that's favored towards one group or the other, but is truly giving us advice to help consult and give recommendations to our fiscal bodies. So if that looks like a potential relationship, I'm sure there'll be more discussions with the park board as we look at consulting services with them. And if it doesn't look like a potential, then it won't go any further than tomorrow. I also wanted to advise you of several I can't talk tonight. Couple items that are coming before the council that relate to parks. At the Monday, February 19th council meeting, I will be giving my first quarter report every quarter, every year. I am asked to come to the council to just give a general overview of what's going on in parks. So my first quarter report will be at the February 19th meeting. The City Council will also be considering Resolution CC 0108-2401, which has been in the Land Use and Special Studies Committee that starts the process to look at changes to the Unified Development Ordinance that would change the processes for approving use of impact fees as well as issuing credits. That meeting, the most recent meeting that received a favorable 4-0 recommendation on that resolution occurred last week while I was on vacation. So I'm still in the process of evaluating that resolution, any changes that have been made to that, as well as any impacts. So I'll keep you posted via email information-wise as to my assessment with that. But that will be considered, looks like, at the February 19th meeting. Also on the March 4th meeting, there will be a additional appropriation for Fund 103, which is the non-reverting park capital fund. That because that fund is maintained by the city, even though what we're going to be asking for is use of the local income tax dollars that have been deposited in that fund, it still does require council appropriation of those funds. So we're going for $4.6 million, is that the right amount? Yes, $4.6 million additional appropriation that is addressing a number of items that have been approved by the park board or are in our capital improvement plan. Most notably, of course, providing us some wiggle room for the White River pedestrian bridge if necessary, as well as the White River North extension. With regard to that, we anticipate a proposal from CTI for inspection services for the North Trail extension. So we'll be looking at that proposal. So that might be coming before the Park Board next month, but haven't received that proposal yet. Also included in that will be the playground resurfacing, which has previously been approved by the Park Board for Westermeyer Commons, funding for the indoor playground at the Monon Community Center. After this season, upgrades and development of a new splash pad within the water park, replacing the kiddie pool area, which we've discussed as part of the reimagining of the water park. Engineering studies for the Central Park Boardwalk, which is approaching end of life and is a big enough structure that we don't want to take that on in-house. We want to make sure we have an engineer reviewing and putting together the specifications for that. With Founders Parks doing some, putting together plans for some renovations to that playground, which is now our oldest playground in the park system, but the safety surfacing, some of the equipment needs upgraded. So putting together those plans as well as doing some general upgrades to the beams, trellises, ceilings within the community shelter and some concrete work out there. Flowing well, some additional boardwalks to the trails out there in areas that are wet at various times of the year, adding on to the boardwalks that we, not necessarily adding on, but complementing the boardwalks that we've recently put out there. Renovations to the safety surfacing of the Jill Perlman Pavilion boardwalks. That was one that has a safety coating on it that has to be redone every several years. Bridge repairs to fix some welds and minor repairs to the Meadowlark Bridge, staining the underside and surface repairs to the pickleball court at Enlow Park, and general mapping of natural resources for invasives and other components, and adding umbrellas to the picnic shelters in the middle of Cary Grove. Originally, we had envisioned sort of a canopy over that area, but for cost ramifications, we had to cut that out. But there's some tables that are in the middle that can get pretty hot, so we're going to put the permanent umbrellas like we have now at Meadowlark Park at the Overlook that will provide shade in the middle when you're sitting at those tables, but don't have to be put up and down, so they're effectively permanent umbrellas. So those are all things, again, in our capital improvement plan, but will be funded with the additional appropriation we're asking to use the impact fees. And of course, as some of those projects haven't even been bid out yet, but we need to get the appropriation so that we have the ability to spend those monies. So that'll be at the March 4th meeting. With that, I think that concludes my director's report. Happy to address any questions you may have.
So Michael, again, the meetings, these are all on March 4th?
So the resolution that starts the process for changing the UDO regarding impact fees will be at next Monday, February 19th, as well as my quarterly report.
Okay,
And then the additional appropriation for Fund 103 will be the March 4th
March
meeting.
4th, okay. And then is that resolution on March 4th for the 4.6, does that include the laundry list that you have just given us?
I will
Essentially.
I will send out a copy of that along with the list of the projects for you.
Okay, okay. So it's not altogether a bad thing, maybe perhaps if the council has to appropriate that now, so they see, although they get all the information, they now,
Exactly. It's going to put them front and center to the council, which I see as a good thing.
as a positive thing, yeah.
And it's good for the community too, because they'll even further transparency beyond the transparency of the park board as to how the dollars for Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation are being used.
Good, gets coverage here and it gets coverage there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
excellent.
then I think it also demonstrates the true need for funding, because a lot of these are for existing assets that have to have capital repairs and replacements, and that's part of the long-term capital funding that we need to address, because as a park system, it's always been our goal, as I know it's been the park board's goal, to not only build incredible assets, but ensure that we're good stewards of them so that the public knows that their investments have been well taken care of. And this funding is paramount to ensure that we're able to do that not only now, but in perpetuity.
And at this point in the life of the system, that is probably the number one thing, although we do want to get the river done
Right.
and the new parks, but maintenance of everything is the really high priority. Yeah.
Absolutely. What we want to avoid is going into the cycle that you see so many more mature park systems. I mean, we're fortunate that we're a little over 30 years old, so we're now just starting to, over the last, several years and moving forward, addressing the issues that you see from a more mature park system. But you see many park systems, including Indianapolis, that, they build incredible assets, but then the community doesn't reinvest into those assets, and then you see a decline. And then, we unfortunately don't have a Lilly Foundation that comes in and gives major boost to Indy Parks and to their foundation, at least not yet, to be able to do those upgrades. So we need to make sure we're taking care of it.
Excellent. Any other questions for Michael? Anything else you want to share?
That's it for tonight.
Okay. I will add school board report, since that did not appear on the agenda. Sometimes it does, and sometimes not. Anything to share?
I'm just happy to be here. Thank you for having me back. It's been a few years since I was able to serve on Parks Board. So I just finished 2 years of serving as the president of the Carmel School Board. So I'm excited that I handed that baton to Kristen. So I'm taking her place on Parks. So we did a little swap right there. So that's exciting as she kind of starts into that new leadership capability. I'll just kind of share exciting is that the Carmel High School girls swimming and diving just did their
Yes.
38th consecutive
Isn't that
state
something?
championship for swimming. So I think we're pretty decent at swimming and diving this year. We actually was a new thing that we've actually won also. So that was really exciting for us. So yeah, definitely kudos to that group. So yeah, thank you for having me.
So we'll move on to information items.
No additional information items. Just want to continue to thank the Carmel Clay Parks Foundation. I know that Dan Dutcher, who's president of that foundation, has been attending a lot of the land use meetings. So certainly appreciate his support and dedication that I know he's representing the entire foundation with that. But appreciate him continuing to support parks as he always has.
Thank you. I'll convey that.
Question.
Yes. Thanks.
Question for Eric. Do we have a roster to sign today? Okay. Thank you.
And then we have a number of documents to sign here tonight, so I'm assuming that's in someone's packet with the official. I guess, okay, great, thank you. Park Board comments, discussion? Anyone? Okay,
Move to adjourn?
Josh moves to adjourn.
Second.
Linus seconds. Any further discussion? Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Oops, excuse me.
Got it? Nope, I got it.